Tom Rivers pressed his face against the transport window as the diplomatic station came into view. The massive structure floated in neutral space like a giant flower made of metal and glass. Each petal housed different alien species who came here to talk and trade. Tom felt his heart beat faster as he thought about his mission. He was here to meet the Nereids for the first time. These water people had agreed to share their knowledge with humans after decades of careful messages sent across space. Tom's job was simple: learn about their culture and help them understand humans. It sounded easy when they briefed him on Earth. The transport docked with a soft thud. Tom grabbed his bag and walked through the airlock. The station's main corridor was wide and filled with beings from across the galaxy. He saw tall, stick-like creatures with too many arms, small fuzzy balls that rolled instead of walked, and things that looked like living crystals. The air smelled like ozone and something sweet he could not name. A human officer in a crisp uniform approached him. "Tom Rivers. I'm Captain Hayes. Welcome to Station Unity." Tom shook the captain's hand. "Thank you, sir. I'm ready to start the cultural exchange." "Good." The Nereids arrived 3 days ago. They've set up in the aquatic section. Their representative is Elder Thane, very formal and proper. There's also a younger one named Kira who seems more curious about humans. They walked through corridors filled with different atmospheres. Some areas had thick green air, others had floating purple mist. Finally, they reached a section where everything looked blue and wet. The walls were transparent and showed large pools of water beyond. "The Nereids breathe both air and water," Hayes explained. "They can talk to us normally, but they prefer to stay near water. Don't be surprised if they seem to glide rather than walk." Tom nodded and checked his notes one more time. Nereids were peaceful, lived in underwater cities, and valued harmony above all else. They had beautiful translucent blue skin and gill slits on their necks. The briefing said they were very polite and never showed aggression. They entered a large room with pools built into the floor. The ceiling curved like the inside of a bubble and light shifted through it like sunlight through water. Tom heard soft musical sounds that might have been Nereid conversation. 3 figures rose from the largest pool. Tom's breath caught. The Nereids were more beautiful than any picture could show. Their skin looked like blue glass with light moving underneath. They moved with fluid grace, water droplets rolling off them like mercury. The tallest one wore robes that seemed to be made of woven seaweed. "Elder Thane," Captain Hayes said with a formal bow. "This is Tom Rivers, our cultural representative." The tall Nereid stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice sounded like water over stones. "Welcome, Tom Rivers of Earth. I am Elder Thane. This is my colleague Vera, and my student Kira." Tom bowed like Hayes had shown him. "It's an honor to meet you. I hope we can learn much from each other." Kira moved closer. She was smaller than the others, and her skin had more silver mixed with the blue. Her large eyes held bright curiosity. "You look so different from our records," she said. "May I examine your hands? We have studied human anatomy but never seen it in person." Tom held out his hand. "Of course. I'm curious about your physiology too." Kira took his hand gently. Her fingers were longer than human ones and had thin webbing between them. Her touch felt cool and smooth. She turned his hand over, examining his palm and fingers. "So rigid," she murmured. "And the skin is so thick. How do you sense water currents?" "We don't really," Tom said with a laugh. "We're not built for water like you are." Kira traced the lines on his palm with one finger. "Fascinating. And these markings, do they mean anything to your people?" "Some humans think they tell the future, but it's just superstition." Elder Thane and Captain Hayes were talking about formal protocols in low voices. Vera watched Tom and Kira with what might have been amusement. Tom relaxed as he realized the Nereids were just as curious about humans as he was about them. "Your bones must be so dense," Kira continued. "How do you move gracefully in your environment?" Before Tom could answer, Kira leaned forward and gently bit his index finger. Her teeth were small and sharp, but she barely applied pressure. It felt like a pinch. "Ouch," Tom said and pulled his hand back instinctively. Then he laughed. "Sorry, reflex action. That didn't really hurt." The room went completely silent. Kira's eyes went wide and she stumbled backward into the pool. Vera made a sound like a whale song mixed with a gasp. Elder Thane's face went pale, which made his blue skin look almost white. "What?" Elder Thane said in a voice like cracking ice. "Did you just do?" Tom looked around in confusion. "She bit me. It was just curiosity, right? No harm done." Kira surfaced in the pool, her face showing horror. She spoke rapidly in the Nereid language, her voice high and panicked. Elder Thane answered in harsh tones that made the water ripple. Captain Hayes stepped forward. "Is there a problem?" Tom didn't mean any offense. Elder Thane turned to face them both. His expression was grave. "This cultural exchange is suspended immediately. I must contact the Nereid Council at once." "Wait," Tom said. "What did I do wrong? She was just examining my hand and dash." "Silence!" Elder Thane's voice boomed through the room. "You have participated in our most sacred ritual without understanding its meaning. This is either the deepest insult or the most binding commitment possible between our species." Kira was crying now, making soft keening sounds as she floated in the pool. Vera moved to comfort her while shooting worried glances at Tom. "I don't understand," Tom said. "What ritual? She just bit my finger." Elder Thane's gill slits fluttered with agitation. "Among our people, the bonding bite is how we choose life partners. By accepting it without rejection, you have agreed to the most sacred bond our culture recognizes." Tom felt his stomach drop. "But I didn't know dash." "Ignorance does not break the bond," Elder Thane said coldly. "You must both come before the council. This incident could destroy any hope of peace between our peoples." Captain Hayes grabbed Tom's arm. "We need to contact Earth Command immediately." As they left the aquatic section, Tom could still hear Kira's distressed sounds echoing through the water. He had come here to build bridges between species and somehow managed to accidentally bind himself to an alien girl he had just met. The worst part was seeing how upset Kira looked, as if this was all her fault. Tom realized that learning about alien cultures was much more dangerous than anyone had warned him. Tom sat in the human quarters staring at his finger where Kira had bitten him. There was no mark, no sign that anything had happened. But according to Elder Thane, that small bite had changed everything. Captain Hayes paced the room while speaking into his communicator. "Yes, sir, I understand the gravity of the situation. The Nereid Elder is demanding a formal response from Earth government within 48 hours. Tom listened with growing dread. The conversation with Earth Command was not going well. Words like diplomatic disaster and mission failure kept coming up. Hayes ended the call and turned to face him. "They want you on the next transport back to Earth," Hayes said. "Let the diplomats handle this mess." "What about Kira? I can't just leave her to deal with this alone." Hayes gave him a sharp look. "She's not your concern anymore, Rivers. You've done enough damage." Before Tom could respond, the door chimed. Vera entered, her blue skin looking darker than before. She moved with a careful grace all Nereids showed, but Tom could see tension in her posture. "Elder Thane requests your presence," she said to Tom. "The Council of Elders has been contacted. They will arrive within 2 days to decide this matter." "What exactly will they decide?" Hayes asked. Vera's large eyes shifted between the two humans. "Whether the bond is valid, and if so, what consequences follow. If they rule that Tom Rivers accepted the bonding bite with full knowledge, then he and Kira are bound for life according to our most ancient laws." Tom felt cold. "And if they rule that I didn't know?" "Then Kira will face charges of cultural assault. She will be banished from Nereid society for bringing shame upon our people through her careless actions." The words hit Tom like a physical blow. "That's not fair. She was just curious. This is my fault, not hers. Among our people, the bonding bite is taught to children as the most sacred act possible. To perform it carelessly is considered impossible. The council will assume she either meant to bond with you or deliberately tried to trick you." Hayes stepped forward. "There has to be another option. This was clearly an accident." Vera's expression grew sad. "Our laws are ancient and unchanging. They exist to protect the sanctity of our bonding rituals. If exceptions are made, the entire foundation of our society could collapse. Tom stood up. I want to talk to Kira. That is not permitted until the council makes their ruling. She must be terrified. Please, just let me explain to her that I don't blame her for anything. Vera studied his face for a long moment. You truly care about her well-being? Of course I do. None of this is her fault. I will consider your request. But first, you must understand what the bonding bite means to our people. Vera settled into a chair that adjusted automatically to support her aquatic physiology. When Nereids choose a life partner, they do not simply marry as humans do. The bonding bite creates a spiritual and emotional connection that lasts until death. The one who gives the bite offers their complete trust and devotion. The one who accepts it promises the same in return. Tom listened with growing understanding of how serious this was. The bite itself is merely symbolic, Vera continued. The true bond forms when the receiver accepts it without pulling away or rejecting the giver. By saying ouch, but then laughing and showing no anger, you signaled acceptance according to our customs. But I was just being polite, Tom protested. Politeness is not a concept that exists in bonding rituals. You either accept the bond completely or reject it completely. There is no middle ground. Hayes had been listening quietly. What happens if the council rules the bond is valid? Then Tom Rivers becomes part of Nereid society. He would be expected to learn our ways, live according to our customs, and remain bonded to Kira for life. He would gain all the rights of a Nereid citizen but also all the responsibilities. Tom thought about this. And Kira? What would happen to her? She would be honored for successfully bonding with an alien species. Such unions are extremely rare and considered blessed by our ancestors. But she didn't mean to bond with me either. Vera's expression became unreadable. Are you certain of that? Kira specifically requested to examine your hands. She chose the index finger, which is the traditional bonding location. She applied the correct pressure and technique. These could not be accidents. Tom felt his world tilt. Had Kira deliberately bonded with him? The idea seemed impossible, but Vera's words carried the weight of cultural knowledge he lacked. I need to speak with her, Tom said firmly. After much discussion, Vera agreed to arrange a meeting. She led Tom through the station to a small chamber that connected to the aquatic section. One wall was transparent and showed a pool beyond. After a few minutes, Kira appeared in the water. She looked different now. Her skin was paler and her usual graceful movements seemed hesitant. When she saw Tom, she pressed her hands against the barrier between them. Tom activated the translation system. Kira, I'm sorry this happened. You should not apologize, she said. This is my fault entirely. I was curious about human anatomy and I acted without thinking. Now I have trapped us both. You didn't trap anyone. I could have pulled my hand away or shown anger, but I didn't. If anyone made a choice here, it was me. Kira's eyes filled with tears. You do not understand. The council will ask if I intended to bond with you. I cannot lie to them. Tom felt his heart skip. Did you intend it? There was a long silence. Finally, Kira spoke so softly he could barely hear her. From the moment you entered our section, I felt something I had never experienced before. When I touched your hand, I wanted to know everything about you. The bite was instinctive, like my body acted before my mind could stop it. So you did mean to bond with me? I meant to understand you. Whether that is the same thing, I do not know. Our elders say that true bonding bites are always intentional, even when they feel spontaneous. Tom stared at her through the barrier. This young alien woman had risked her entire future because she felt curious about him. The courage that must have taken, even if she had not fully understood it herself, was staggering. The council arrives tomorrow, Kira continued. They will question us both separately, then together. They will decide if our bond is real or if we have committed crimes against our respective cultures. What do you want to happen? Tom asked. I want you to be free to return to your people without shame. I want the cultural exchange to continue successfully. I want my actions not to have ruined everything. That's not what I asked. Kira looked directly at him. I want you to stay. I want to learn everything about humans from you. I want to show you the wonders of Nereid culture. I want this accident to become the greatest blessing of my life." Tom pressed his hand against the barrier across from hers. "Then we better figure out how to convince the council that this bond is real." The Nereid council ship arrived like a living jewel against the stars. Tom watched from the observation deck as the organic vessel docked with the station. Its hull pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that reminded him of deep-sea creatures from Earth. Captain Hayes stood beside him, looking grim. "Earth Command's position is clear. You're to tell the Council this was all a misunderstanding and request immediate release from any obligations." Tom nodded but said nothing. He had spent the night reading everything available about Nereid culture and society. The more he learned, the more he realized how little the human diplomatic corps truly understood about these people. "The Council consists of 5 elders," Hayes continued. "Elder Thane will present the case. They'll question you, then Kira, then make their decision. This could take hours or days. What if I choose to honor the bond?" Hayes turned to stare at him. "You're not seriously considering that?" "I'm considering all options. These people have laws and customs that go back thousands of years. Maybe respecting that matters more than convenience. Rivers, you've known this girl for 2 days. You can't throw your life away over some alien mating ritual." Tom watched the council members emerge from their ship. They moved with ancient dignity, their robes flowing like water. "What if it's not throwing my life away? What if it's finding something worth building a life around?" The hearing took place in the station's main conference chamber. The room had been modified with pools and atmospheric controls to accommodate both species. Tom sat at a simple table facing the 5 council elders. They were old, their blue skin darkened with age, their eyes holding the wisdom of centuries. Elder Thane spoke first, his voice carrying formal authority. "We are here to determine the validity of a bonding claim between Kira of the Deep Currents and Tom Rivers of Earth. Such cross-species bonds are unprecedented in our recorded history." The eldest council member, whose skin was nearly purple with age, leaned forward. "Tom Rivers, do you understand the nature of what occurred between you and our daughter?" Tom stood to answer. "I am learning to understand it, Elder. The bonding bite is your people's most sacred ritual of partnership. By accepting it without rejection, I signaled my willingness to form a life bond with Kira. And do you now reject this bond?" This was the moment Tom had been preparing for. "No, Elder. I do not reject it." A murmur ran through the assembled observers. Captain Hayes made a choking sound behind him. The council elders remained impassive. "You would accept bonding to a being not of your species, knowing it binds you for life?" "Yes, if she will have me." Another elder spoke. "What do you know of our ways, human? How can you commit to a culture you have barely glimpsed?" Tom had prepared for this question. "I know that Nereids value harmony above conflict, wisdom above power, and connection above isolation. I know your cities exist in perfect balance with your ocean environments. I know you see bonding not as ownership but as mutual growth. These are values I can respect and learn to live by." The eldest elder's expression softened slightly. "You have studied our ways. I have begun to study them. I understand that learning Nereid culture would be the work of a lifetime. I am willing to dedicate that lifetime if Kira wishes to share it with me." The questioning continued for hours. They asked about his understanding of Nereid social structures, their relationship with nature, their concept of individual responsibility to the community. Tom answered as honestly as he could, admitting his ignorance when necessary but showing his genuine desire to learn. Finally, they called for Kira. She entered the chamber swimming through a water-filled tube that ran along the ceiling. She descended gracefully into the central pool, her movements showing none of her earlier distress. She had prepared for this moment too. "Daughter of the Deep Currents," the eldest elder said, "explain your actions toward this human." Kira's voice was clear and steady. "I acted from curiosity that became attraction that became instinctive bonding behavior. I did not consciously decide to bond with Tom Rivers, but neither was my action entirely without intent. Do you believe this human can learn our ways sufficiently to honor a life bond?" I have observed his willingness to learn, his respect for concepts he does not yet understand, and his acceptance of responsibility for consequences he did not anticipate. These are the qualities our ancestors valued most in potential bondmates. The eldest elder turned back to Tom. If we validate this bond, you will be expected to spend at least 1 year in our home waters learning our culture directly. You will study our language, our history, our relationship with the ocean. You will participate in all aspects of Nereid society. Do you accept these conditions? Tom felt his heart racing, but his voice was steady. I accept them gladly. And you, daughter? Do you accept the responsibility of teaching this alien our ways while learning his? I accept it as the greatest honor of my life. The council members withdrew to deliberate. Tom waited in a side chamber with Captain Hayes, who had been unusually quiet since Tom's testimony. You really mean to go through with this? Hayes finally asked. Yes. Why? You barely know her. Tom thought about how to explain it. I've spent my career studying alien cultures from a distance, reading reports and watching recordings. This is a chance to truly understand a completely different way of life. To not just study it, but live it. That's professional interest, not love. Maybe they're not so different. Besides, I've seen how Kira looks at challenges, how she takes responsibility for her actions, how she cares about others even when she's scared. Those are qualities that matter regardless of species. Hayes shook his head. Earth Command is going to hate this. Earth Command wanted successful cultural exchange. What's more successful than actually joining another culture? The council recalled them after 2 hours. The eldest elder stood to announce their decision. We find that the bonding bite was performed with sufficient intent and accepted with sufficient understanding to constitute a valid bond under our ancient laws. However, given the unprecedented nature of cross-species bonding, we establish new protocols. Tom felt relief and terror in equal measure. Tom Rivers of Earth will spend 1 full year learning Nereid culture in our home waters. During this time, both parties may dissolve the bond if they find themselves incompatible. After 1 year, if both choose to continue, the bond becomes permanent and binding. The elder's expression grew warmer. We also decree that this union, if successful, will serve as a model for future cooperation between our species. You will be pioneers in the truest sense. The first time Tom saw the Nereid homeworld from space, he understood why they valued harmony so deeply. The planet was a swirling masterpiece of blue and green, with storm systems that looked like living art and ice caps that gleamed like jewels. No harsh lines of industrial development marred its surface. Everything flowed in natural patterns. Beautiful, he whispered, pressing against the viewport of the council ship. Kira floated beside him in the water-filled observation chamber. Wait until you see the deep cities, she said. They grow from the ocean floor like coral forests, but they live and think and sing. The ship descended through atmosphere thick with water vapor. Tom saw his first Nereid city rising from the depths of a vast ocean. It defied every human concept of architecture. Towers spiraled upward like giant sea anemones, their walls pulsing with soft light. Gardens of kelp and coral surrounded everything, teeming with creatures that seemed part decoration and part citizen. How do I breathe down there? Tom asked, suddenly practical. Kira smiled, showing her small sharp teeth. Nereid biotechnology. We will give you what you call gills, but temporary ones. They will last as long as you remain with us, then fade when you return to air breathing. The modification procedure was unlike anything in human medicine. Tom lay in a pool while Nereid bioengineers worked with living organisms that looked like beautiful jellyfish. They attached the creatures to his neck and chest, where they bonded with his skin and began growing into functional breathing apparatus. Does it hurt? Kira asked, holding his hand while the organisms integrated with his body. It feels strange, like something alive is becoming part of me, Tom said. But not painful. More like awakening. When the process was complete, Tom could breathe both air and water equally well. The world below the waves opened to him like a new dimension. Sound traveled differently, light moved in patterns he had never imagined, and his body learned to move in 3 dimensions instead of 2. Kira led him through the city she had grown up in. The buildings were alive, their walls filtering water and providing nutrients to the creatures that lived within them. Streets were currents of water that carried citizens where they needed to go. Gardens grew in impossible spirals, feeding the community while creating spaces of natural beauty. This is not technology as humans understand it, Tom realized. This is partnership with living systems. Yes, Kira said. We do not build upon nature. We become part of it. Every Nereid city exists in perfect balance with its ecosystem. We take only what we need and give back more than we consume. Tom's education began immediately. He learned that Nereid language was not just words but whole-body communication. Posture, skin color changes, and even water movement patterns conveyed meaning. He studied their history, which was recorded not in books but in the genetic memories of ancient coral reefs that served as living libraries. The hardest lesson was understanding their concept of individual identity. Nereids saw themselves as part of a greater flow, like drops of water in a current. Decisions were made not by personal preference but by what served the harmony of the whole community. How do you maintain individual personality if everyone thinks of the group first? Tom asked during one of his lessons with Elder Thane, who had become his primary teacher. Individual personality is like a unique instrument in an orchestra, Thane explained. Each contributes its special sound, but the goal is always beautiful music together. Personal desires that would harm the symphony are set aside, but creativity and individual talents are treasured. Tom found himself changing in ways he had not expected. The constant awareness of his impact on others, the need to consider the community in every decision, felt foreign at first. But gradually, he began to experience a sense of belonging he had never known on Earth. 3 months into his year of learning, Tom faced his first major challenge. A group of younger Nereids questioned whether a human could ever truly understand their ways. They argued that he was performing their culture rather than living it. "You speak our words and follow our customs," one young male named Reef said during a community gathering. "But do you feel the deep current? Do you sense the song of the coral forests? Or do you simply imitate what you observe?" Tom felt the attention of the entire community focus on him. This was a test, and his answer would determine whether he could ever be accepted as more than a curious outsider. "You are right to question me," Tom said, using the formal speaking posture Kira had taught him. "I cannot feel exactly what you feel or know the song of the coral as you know it. But I can offer something different." He paused, gathering his thoughts. Humans see patterns differently than Nereids. We look for connections between things that seem separate. I see how your harmony with nature could teach my people to heal the damage we have done to our own world. I see how your community decision-making could solve problems that individual thinking cannot address. Tom swam to the center of the gathering circle. "I cannot become Nereid, but I can become a bridge between our peoples. I can help humans understand why your ways matter, and I can help you understand how human perspectives might strengthen your culture." Reef's expression remained skeptical. What human perspectives could possibly strengthen us? "Human curiosity," Tom said immediately. "Kira bonded with me because she wanted to understand something completely new. That curiosity led to this entire cultural exchange. Human willingness to adapt and change quickly might help you face challenges that require rapid response." An older female named Current spoke up. "You suggest that our cultures might grow stronger together than apart?" "I suggest that diversity creates strength," Tom said. "Just as your coral reefs thrive because they host many different species, our two peoples might thrive through partnership." The debate continued for hours, but Tom sensed the mood shifting. His willingness to acknowledge his limitations while offering genuine contribution had impressed them. More importantly, Kira had been watching with glowing pride, her skin displaying patterns that spoke of deep affection. That night, as they floated together in the garden pools outside the city, Kira asked him the question he had been expecting. "Do you still wish to complete the bonding, knowing how difficult it will be to live between two worlds?" Tom considered his answer carefully. "I've learned something important these past months. I thought I was here to study your culture, but actually I'm here to help create something new. A way for humans and Nereids to work together that benefits both species." The year of learning was almost over. Tom floated in the ceremonial chamber where his final bonding with Kira would take place, surrounded by representatives from both their peoples. Captain Hayes had arrived from Station Unity along with a delegation of human diplomats. The Nereid Council of Elders formed a circle around the ancient coral altar that would witness their permanent union. Tom's body had changed during his time in the deep cities. His skin had adapted to pressure variations, his eyes could see in the dim light of the ocean depths, and the temporary gills had become so integrated with his physiology that removing them would require major surgery. He was no longer fully human, but he was not Nereid either. He had become something new. Before we proceed with the final ritual, Elder Thane announced, both parties must demonstrate their understanding of what permanent bonding means to our respective cultures. Kira spoke first, her words carrying through the water with the formal tones reserved for sacred occasions. I have studied human customs of partnership. I understand that humans value individual choice, personal growth, and the freedom to change their minds. I promise to honor Tom's human nature while sharing my Nereid heritage with him. I will not try to make him into something he is not, but will help him become the best version of what he chooses to be. The human delegation murmured approvingly. Tom felt proud of how deeply Kira had worked to understand his people's values. Now it was his turn. I have learned that Nereid bonding means joining not just with one person but with their entire community and way of life. I understand that my decisions will affect the harmony of Kira's people, and I accept that responsibility gladly. I promise to spend my life building understanding between our species and protecting the wisdom of Nereid culture. Elder Thane nodded solemnly. Then we proceed to the final test. Tom had not expected a test. He looked at Kira, who seemed equally surprised. Both of your peoples face a challenge that will determine whether this bonding serves a greater purpose, Elder Thane continued. 3 days ago, we received a distress signal from the outer colonies. A new alien species has arrived in this sector of space. They call themselves the Dominion, and they demand that all other species submit to their rule or be destroyed. Captain Hayes stepped forward. Our intelligence confirms this. The Dominion has already destroyed 2 independent colonies. Their ships are heading toward both human and Nereid territory. Tom felt cold water rush through his modified gills. What does this have to do with our bonding? The eldest council member spoke, her ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. Your union represents something unprecedented, cooperation between species through genuine understanding rather than fear or necessity. If you can work together to help both our peoples face this threat, your bonding will be blessed by our ancestors and honored by your descendants. And if we cannot? Kira asked. Then perhaps such cooperation is impossible, and our species should remain separate for their own protection. Tom understood. This was not just about his relationship with Kira anymore. They were being asked to prove that humans and Nereids could truly work as partners when survival was at stake. What do you need from us? Tom asked. Captain Hayes activated a holographic display that showed the approaching Dominion fleet. Our military analysts believe their technology is superior to either human or Nereid capabilities alone. But if we could combine our strengths. Human adaptability and Nereid biotechnology, Tom said, seeing the possibilities immediately. Exactly.